Guys, welcome back to my channel. If you're new here, my name is Miko. If you've been here before, welcome back. I hope that you guys have subscribed, liked, comment, and don't forget to share. So today's video is a continuation of two videos that you guys have already seen on my channel, which is the Surviving a Narcissist sequel. I felt like I needed to take a little break and just get my mind together and also have a chance to give you guys a little bit of variety. I just didn't want to focus too much on my past experience. I decided to give y'all these videos about my past trauma in doses, you know? Like the new subscribers that are coming to my page. I just don't want to just flood you guys with trauma. But I do want to educate y'all on these types of people. So let's get into the video. Where I left off at in part 2 was the moment where we were living in the Jersey apartment and I was telling you guys about all the fidelity and stuff. Like, this is where it started to get a little toxic. So now what's happening is that we were living in the Jersey apartment. He could not afford the rent. So we were basically getting evicted. The whole time while we were going through that, I was just brainstorming and I was thinking to myself, like, I don't want to go through this again. Who wants to go through having a roof over your head and every time you guys move or you get into an apartment, it's always, he doesn't have the money for the rent. But mind you, he acts like he is a provider, which is absolutely insane to me. Like, I don't understand his thought process because he would always be like, oh, I could afford it, I could do it, and would never actually want my help. There was only one time that we moved into an apartment, which he kind of was like, oh, he wanted my assistance, but at that time, I couldn't be of assistance to him. But we'll talk about that later on down in another part of one of these series. We'll talk about it then. So we were living in a Jersey apartment, and then I had decided to move to St. Thomas. I had family there, and my cousin actually had spoke to one of her friends, I guess, that was like manager of the Mac store in St. Thomas, and they were actually looking for a new manager because she was relocating to another state or something like that, and they needed somebody that could fill the position. I've been a makeup artist for many years. I had sent them my resume and they took a look at my resume. They was like, Dad, I think she's a perfect fit or whatever. So she gets here, we can just do a full interview. Before I went to St. Thomas, I remember the day that I was leaving for the airport and we was at his mom's house. And I don't know what came over me, but everything inside me was like, Miko, maybe you should just take a break. Maybe you guys need a break. Get yourselves together. And if it's meant to be, it'll be. You know what I'm saying? I always feel like what's for you will be for you. You know what I mean? So I felt like if we were going to continue to struggle, maybe we needed to struggle on our own. You know, at that time, I think my daughter was like about 7. And I was like, it was time for me to reevaluate my life, you know, because the whole moving into apartments and then after a couple months not being able to pay rent or whatever the case may be wasn't sitting right with me. Like, I didn't feel stable. And as a woman, I need stability. As a mother with a child, you need stability. You know what I'm saying? So that wasn't sitting well with me. So I was like, you need to reevaluate some things and let me go off and do my own thing. And then hopefully he go off and he do his own thing and then we will be able to come back together. So I said to him, like, oh, maybe we should just take a break and we should just go our separate ways. And he was like, no, like, for some reason, he did not want to take this break. I don't know why. He really wanted to do the long distance thing because in my mind, it was making sense to me. Like, bruh, we need to just break this off and get our mind right and get our head in the game. Like, you know? So I was thinking for the both of us, like, if we're in a relationship and certain opportunities presents itself and you might need to be single for those opportunities. And I understand that. I understood that. So I was like, even for me, I was going to St. Thomas. I just wanted to go with the mindset of like, whatever I have to do, I'm gonna do and get it done. And if that means that like I may have to be single and just take that road alone, that's what I was willing to do, you know, to get myself in the position that I need to be in. That's what I was thinking. And I was just being considerate of him as well, like, you know, and just giving him that, like, you know, maybe we should just take a break. Nonetheless, he did not want to take a break, okay? This man sat in my face and was like bawling, crying, bawling, like, no, no, no. And I'm just like, okay, we already have been together for some years. I'm like, maybe it might work. Like, you know, like maybe us doing a long distance thing might work. Okay, cool. So now I go to St. Thomas. I end up going to St. Thomas, and that's a whole nother story for a whole nother video, but it didn't work out. And I ended up going to LA. So now I know y'all probably saying to myself, like, went to LA, like, why are you going to LA? So let me back up a little bit. So Bob had this friend, and I had actually met the friend. She came to New York. She was a cool girl, you know, she was cool or whatever. And then she was here, staying in New York for a little bit. She had been staying in Brooklyn. And I don't know, after a while, like, she just kind of left. And she came from Arizona, but then she left and she went to LA because I think she wanted to like pursue her career and like being like a stylist or something like that. Like, if I remember, like, it was something like that. Like, I think she wanted to be a stylist. So I guess like at the moment when she had came to New York, like, it just wasn't hitting for her. So she was like, oh, you know what? I'm gonna move to LA. So she had went to LA. So then prior to that, like, me and Bob had been having a conversation, and Bob was like, you know, Ty, what can I call her? Because I don't want to put her name in the video. Let's say her name is Desire. He was like, Desire was like, LA is lit, LA is popping, you know, that we should come out there, like, you know, but I'm not gonna go out there right now. Like, I'll let you go out there and you could stay with her and, you know, get yourself together. Hold on, let me grab my drink because my throat is getting a little dry. Okay, so he was like, you could go out there and you could stay with her or whatever, because originally when I went to St. Thomas, that was my original goal. My goal was to go there, work at Mac, stay there for like a year, and then transfer to a Mac store in LA. So I was trying to be strategic, but lo and behold, that ain't happened. God had a whole nother plan for me, and it didn't go that way. So I ended up going to LA, and then so I go to LA, and child, she picks me up from the airport. Now let me tell y'all, if y'all remember in the last video, right, which this is my fault, I gotta take full accountability for this, but sometimes you just be like, girl, don't focus on the negative and just focus on the positive and just go ahead and do your big one. Like, you know what I'm saying? Go to LA and really put your best foot forward and do your big one. So in part 2, I did speak about the friend, but I was telling y'all that the friend was like a little weird. She was a little weird. So anyway, I got to LA, and she picks me up from the airport, and when she picked me up from the airport, she was hella dry, just like not really enthused that I was there. I mean, I'm not all that to her or whatever the case may be, but I would think that if I have somebody coming to stay with me at my apartment and we supposed to be cool, or we gonna be like roommates or whatever, I'm gonna be like, girl, what's up, girl? Oh my God, I'm happy you here. This and that, I'm gonna show you around, blah, blah, blah. Like, I got none of that from her. It was just like, hey, that was really it. She asked me if I was like, hungry, what did I come to eat? Because it was kind of late when I got to LA. I want to say it was around maybe 9, 10 o'clock at night. So it was kind of late when I got to LA. So nothing was really open. It's not like I could have went and had dinner or anything like that. So we grabbed some food. We went back to her place, and that was it. So then I think, if I remember correctly, I think I came to her on like a Thursday. It wasn't like a full week. It was like more going towards the end of the week. So she was telling me like, oh, when the weekend comes, we could go out. I could bring you to some places or whatever, so we could have lunch. And she was talking about us going to brunch on a Sunday at this cute little place or whatever. So I was like, all right, cool, no problem. So everything was cool for like the couple of days that I was there. So now let's fast forward. The weekend comes and she's like, girl, we could do this, and girl, we could do that. So she took me to a rooftop. I think it was like Standard, which I did love. The Standard was so cool. I met so many cool people. It was really fun. We did that, and then we went to this brunch spot. So at the brunch spot, we sitting there and we talking, and she was like, you know, I just wanted to tell you that, like, you know, I really love you and blah, 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 blah. So I'm like, where is all of this coming from? Because it was just so weird that she just started the conversation off like that. So I was like, okay. And she proceeded to tell me that Bob was always talking bad about me to her. And I was like, well, wow. I found that interesting. But to me, I felt like homegirl had a little motive to herself, because I remember when we was in New York and she was a little bit of a hater towards me. She wasn't like welcoming to me. Like, if we hung out and I got more attention than her, she would just act completely funny, like, you know, so whatever. So I was saying to myself, like, oh, now that I'm here, she wants to kind of like, you know, like butter me up and stuff so that like I could be more on her side than I am my man. So I'm listening to her and she's telling me like how we would get into arguments when we were like at the Jersey apartment, and how he would call her and he would be talking about me to her. And the thing about it is that I knew she wasn't lying, because she told me a few scenarios that I remember that we had went through in the relationship that she had known. And it's like, why does she even know my business? You know what I'm saying? This is a relationship between you and I. Like, why are you involving your friend, and why are you telling your friend my business? And to be honest, I feel like, you know what I'm saying, I'm gonna drop a gem for you guys. If I have guys that's watching my channel, like, you have a woman or you have a wife, you don't never discuss your woman or your wife with another female friend, cousin, not even your mother, because that's gonna cause problems in y'all relationship. You know what I'm saying? That's not a good feeling, because then what's gonna happen is the other parties now, when they see your significant other, they're not gonna respect them. They're gonna be like snickering, and they think they know whatever information that your partner has indulged with them. They're gonna be like, oh, he told me this and he told me that. So it's gonna seem like he don't really fuck with you like that. So I was just like taken aback. When I tell y'all, I was livid. I was livid. And I wasn't livid because of what she was telling me. It was like the audacity of him. To be honest, I didn't really give a fuck about her, because I already knew that she was somewhat of a hater. And her being a hater didn't really have anything to do with me per se. Like, it had to do with her. She was just a very insecure girl. And it was crazy because she was a pretty girl. Like, she was just insecure. So because I came around her and I was just so full of life and I had confidence within myself, she just didn't like that, and she didn't know how to be around me. I think I had more of a dominant personality. I was more sure of myself. I was more confident in myself. I know where I want to go in life. So she just was intimidated by my whole existence, right? So when she was telling me what she was telling me, I already felt like she had some form of motive to get me to be more on her side than on Bob's side, right? So now let's fast forward a little bit. I am livid. So I call Bob and I'm letting him have it, like, cursing him out like, you got a lot of fucking nerve. You was talking about me to this girl, da 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 da. I'm going off on him. And he's like, no, I wasn't. I wasn't talking about you in the way that you think. I was just venting to her. I thought she was my friend, and you know, she was a female, and I was trying to get some advice from her as a female or whatever. And I'm like, no, you talk to me. Like, you don't talk to another female, because now she thinks she got the one up on me. That's one. And then two, she's using it to her advantage at this very moment. You know what I mean? So him and I get into it. We get into it with her. They get the going. He cursing her out. Now she's feeling a form of a way because I'm there. And now, like, him and her are not cool. But it was like, I don't know what she expected by telling me that. What did you expect to happen after telling me that my dude was talking bad about me to you, and consistently? It wasn't like she said, oh no, he vented a couple of times or whatever the case may be. It was like he was talking bad about me. That's the way she explained the situation to me. So now I already felt a little bit of a way, but in my mind I'm like, damn, I'm already here in LA. What can I do? She was already acting funny, per usual, because she was acting funny in New York. And that's what I was saying in the beginning when I was like, oh, I had to take full accountability for myself, because when you know a person is not really that fond of you, you don't put yourself in a situation like what I did. Like, I should have never went to LA. I should have never went to stay with her. I should have just went back to New York. Like, once it didn't work out the way it was supposed to in St. Thomas, I should have just came back to New York. But I don't know, I had a dream and I was just like, I know if I could go to LA and I could be in LA just for like a couple months, like I know I could get myself together, like I know I could get shit popping, you know? So I really wanted to go, and I was like, I wasn't trying to let nothing stop me. So I didn't want to focus on her negativity and her insecurities, because that had nothing to do with me. That had everything to do with her. But I felt like I was mature enough to deal with the situation and literally just block her out and do my thing, because I don't let nobody project their energy onto me. Whatever you feeling, girl, that's on you, and that's on you. Like, I don't know, like, you know what I'm saying? So I was just like, okay, I'm gonna go to LA and I'm gonna make it work. So that's what I did. We came back from the brunch. Him and her is like going at it or whatever. They not talking, and she is low-key mad at me because I said something, but I really don't know what she expected, to be honest. I don't know what that girl expected me to do after she gave me that information. Like, it makes sense. While I was in LA, there was little things that was happening that was just very odd. I had a, I don't even know what to call this. I used to, you know, do a little puff, you know, when I was younger, and I was cool. I noticed after years had passed, I couldn't really do the little puff no more. Like, it would make me very antsy and anxious. I don't know if it was to say it was paranoia, but I would literally see things, like see the future, right? I'm just gonna put it to y'all like that. So this one night, I was hanging out with a bunch of girls in LA, and they took me to a little party. It was like a little industry party. Before we got to the party, we had ate some edibles. So we ate the edibles and everything was cool, everything was fine. Once high started to come down, God started to reveal so many things to me. So I had this girl that I was friends with. She also knew Bob because I introduced her to Bob. And when I had went to LA, her and I was still cool. She was back in New York, like, you know, where Bob was. So anyway, I don't know what was going on with her and Bob, but her and Bob was a lot closer than what they portrayed to me. There was this guy that I had met in Cali, real cool. He invited me out to a studio session that he was having with a celebrity. I'm not gonna say the celebrity's name because I don't want to put nobody's business out there, but he was having a studio session with this celebrity. And like I told y'all before, like, Bob was a rapper. So while I was there in LA, I was like, whatever connections I make for myself, I'm also gonna make connections for him as well. That's what I'm thinking, because I'm like, yo, that's my dude, that's my man. So whatever I do, I'm gonna do whatever I could do too to help him too, so we could both pivot together. So I tell Bob about the guy, and I'm telling him that the guy likes me, but I want to get out in LA and get to know people, because again, I'm not from here. I don't know nobody. I only know this girl. So she was already acting funny. So now in the back of my mind, I'm like, I just got to get out there and meet people. Like, you know what I'm saying? Like, F it. So I started to do different things so I could go out and meet people. I ended up linking up with some girl that I had met when she came to New York. She actually did a video for Bob, and she was living out in Cali. So when she saw that I was there, she was like, oh, come hang out with me, blah, blah, blah. So boom, I met up with her and we hung out. So we went to like a comedy show that was with Chris Rock, his brother. It was a bunch of little celebrities in the spotlight. It was cool. It was real cute. So anyway, there was this guy that was there, and he had told my friend that he liked me. So I was just like, okay, like, you know, I knew I had a dude, but I was like, I gotta, you know what I'm saying? I gotta get to know people. So I'm just gonna be cute. Like, I'm just gonna be cute and get to know people. Like, I'm not gonna go have sex with dude or nothing like that, but I'm gonna get to know people. So he invited me to a studio session one night, and then he invited me to the strip club another night. So I told Bob, like, listen, there's this guy, whatever, he liked me. I let him know, like, I never lied to him. I never said, oh, the guy is just a friend. Like, no, I let him know exactly what it was. I said, listen, the guy likes me, but he's connected. And I feel like because I'm in LA and I'm by myself, like, I have to put myself out there. Like, I can't just be cooped up in Desire's house and do nothing. Like, that's stupid. Like, it defeats the purpose of me going to LA. So I was not gonna do that. I was never gonna waste my time while I was there. I was gonna try to network as much as possible. I told Bob, listen, I'm gonna go out on a date with the guy, but I gave Bob his number, his license plate where he lived, everything, because I don't know nobody out there. You know what I'm saying? And I wanted to feel safe. So the only how I could really go on a date with him is if like somebody else knew that I was out with him back at home, which was Bob. I felt safe letting Bob know because Bob is my man. Like, you know what I'm saying? So I said, if you call me and I don't pick up the phone or you don't hear from me, just know that I was with this person last. So he was like, okay. So Bob knew every step of the way what I was doing. I told him this guy is connected to a lot of people. It could benefit me, it could benefit you. So like, if you're cool with it, I'm just gonna like, chit chat with him and get acquainted. So he was like, all right. He was down for it, right? So now fast forward, go out on a date with the guy. We end up going to the strip club or whatever. And I had told my friend, remember I was telling y'all about my friend that I had introduced to Bob, and him and her magically was closer than what I ever thought. That night we went out to the strip club and I ended up getting not really drunk. I was coherent, but I fell asleep at the guy's house because we went back to the guy's house. It was me and a couple of his friends because another set of his girlfriends, like his homegirls, they came to the club too. He invited them, so we all was hanging out. So then we all went back to his house and we ordered food because you know in LA after a certain time, like y'all, you cannot get no food. So I think we ordered food from like a DoorDash or Uber Eats or something. It was like breakfast food. So we was waiting for the food. So as I'm sat back on his couch, relaxing, waiting for the food, and I end up falling asleep. And they don't wake me up. Even when the food comes, they don't even wake me up. But before I fell asleep, old boy ends up acting like he was trying to suck my toes or whatever. So I'm like, chill. I look down, I'm like, so I just go to sleep. I completely just fell asleep or whatever because it was like me and the other girls, we was still there. They was all there. So I fall asleep. I wake up the next morning and I'm like, oh shit, I fell asleep. I'm like, why didn't y'all wake me up? They was like, girl, you was tired. Oh my God, I didn't even get to eat my food, nothing. I'm like, I was supposed to go on a casting call. I was supposed to do this, I was supposed to do that. I'm like waking up in a frenzy. So now I look at my phone and child, why the hell did Bob call me like 30 times? So now I'm like, oh my God, this dude is going to kill me. Okay, he's going to kill me because in the back of his mind, he like, why you not answering the phone? It looks crazy. Like, it looks like maybe I went and did whatever with the dude and I didn't pick up the phone. Like, or I mean, it could be two things. It could be he could be thinking I'm being intimate with dude, or he could think that something happened to me. Like, you know? So which to me is like, you should be thinking that something happened to me, not like I'm sleeping with the dude, because if you know me, you would know that I would not disrespect my relationship. Like, I don't give a shit what relationship I'm in. Like, if I'm not feeling a relationship, I'm just gonna end it. I don't believe in cheating. Like, I don't know what would be the reason for cheating. Like, you understand? Except for like if you just careless or you downright don't give a F about your partner and their feelings. And to me, that, like, I don't know, it's no point in cheating to me. Like, I'm just literally going to end the relationship because it's not working. So I don't know. So it was weird to me that like his first initial response was thinking that I slept with the dude. But now going through this scenario and going through this situation with him, I realized that he's a cheater. So that's why he thought I was a cheater. Because, you know, these dudes always accuse you of what they're doing. So now I get it. Like, now I understand like why he did what he did or whatever. So yeah, so he's going off on me like, yeah, you F dude, you did this, you did that, blah 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 blah, right? So the day passes, whatever. I go back to Desire's house. I get ready and I get myself together for this casting or whatever, and I go to the casting. And so I speak to my homegirl. So I speak to my homegirl and I'm like, bitch, I'm on the phone her like, damn, I went out with the guy last night and I fucking fell asleep and Bob is pissed. He's so mad and da-da-da-da-da. So she like, really, girl? Da-da-da. So I'm thinking I'm like kicking it with my homegirl, like we just talking and I could be transparent with her. So I was like, yeah, girl. I was like, let me tell you about this guy. I'm like, why this guy started trying to suck my toes and da-da-da-da-da-da while I was sitting on the couch or whatever. So she was like, what? Now, mind you, she eating up all the info, right? Why did this girl go back and tell Bob that the guy sucked my toes? So when I explained to Bob what happened, I said me and the guy did not do anything. Like, we were not intimate, which that's the God's own honest truth. Like, me and the guy did not do anything. We didn't do anything. But the guy did try to suck my toe, or he did suck my toe or whatever. But it was just like, I'm not going to tell my dude that. Like, we however many miles away from each other, all that was going to do was make him feel like I did do something. So I didn't want him to think that, so that's why I didn't tell him about the guy. And nothing happened. He tried to suck my toe, and when he sucked my toe, I went to sleep. Like, you know, so I didn't feel like that was something that I had to tell him. I mean, I don't know. Y'all let me know in the comments. Like, should I have told him, or should I have just kept it from him because it wasn't really nothing to tell? Like, you understand what I'm saying? So I don't know. Y'all let me know in the comments. But anyway, he, I noticed, like, after like a couple days, he was acting real funny. Like, he was throwing around like these little gestures or whatever. Like, he kept, like, we would talk and I would say something and he'd be like, oh, cause you a liar. You a liar. You a liar. So I'm like, why do you keep saying that I'm a liar? Like, what did I lie about? And he's like, no, I'm just saying, like, I know you a liar. So I'm like, so in the back of my mind, I'm like, what the fuck? Where is this coming from? Like, cause you ain't never talked to me like this ever, talking about I'm a liar. So why all of a sudden now you saying I'm a liar? So that went on for like a couple of days, right? So then fast forward, the girls that I had met in Cali, they remember I told y'all, like, they took me out to like a little party, whatever. And it was cute. So they had gave me like some edibles. And child, I ate the edibles, and when the high came down, when I tell you God came and whispered in my ear and was like, that girl, talking about my homegirl that Bob got close to in some type of way, he was like, oh, that girl's not your friend. So I was like, now mind you, this is literally like what I'm hearing in my head, right? So I'm saying, like, where's that coming from? Like, am I crazy? I'm not crazy. So that day had to be God. Like, God gave me the sign. I literally was at the party and I was like, I just got the download. And it was like, God was just telling me, like, yeah, that girl is not your friend. She be talking about you with Bob. Like, she be talking about you with Bob. So I'm like, but I'm telling you, it was after the high came down, child. Like, what I tell you, them was some strong ass edibles, okay? Strong as hell. They was like Sour Patch Kids, the candy. Child, when I tell y'all, I was in there, you would have thought I was Miss Cleo, like I could see the future, okay? So now I get on the phone, I call the girl, and I'm going off. I'm like, B-I-T-C-H, I'm like, you not my friend. You not my friend. You be talking about me with Bob. Da-da-da-da-da. Like, I'm going off on her. Mind you, I'm telling y'all, I'm at a party, so everybody at the party is kind of like, what's wrong? What's wrong? Are you okay? Like, for one, a lot of the people in there didn't know I did an edible. They didn't know what was actually going on. Like, I was getting a download. Like, you know what I'm saying? From God that this was going on. So I just looked crazy on my end. So I go and I curse her out or whatever. And then that same night, I was so high. Like, I had to just go back home. So I left the party because I couldn't function. Like, I was out of it. Not that I couldn't function, but I was already on one. It was like kind of like a bad trip. I was not in a good mood. So I had to leave. So I left and I went back to Desire's house and I slept it off. The next morning, Bob calls. So Bob is like, oh, what's going on? So I'm like, nothing, what's going on? And he's like, oh, so-and-so told me that you cursed her out. So I'm like, yeah, I did. Because I remembered everything that happened. It wasn't like I didn't remember. Like, it wasn't like I was like too intoxicated or something, or I like blacked out. Like, no, this was a download from God. Like, God told me what was going on. It wasn't that anything was wrong with me. So I'm like, yeah, I did curse her out or whatever. And he's like, well, why? And I'm like, because God told me to. And he was like, what? He was like, what are you talking about? Like, you sound crazy. And I'm like, no, I don't sound crazy at all. I'm like, she be talking about me to you. And that's what God told me. Like, she be talking about me to you. So he was quiet. And then he was like, how did you know that? He was like, how did you know that? And I'm like, how did I know what? And he was like, why did you say that she was talking about you to me? I'm like, cause she was. And he's like, who told you that? And I'm like, God. And he's like, Nico, just stop. Like, stop playing. Stop playing. I'm like, no, I'm serious. Like, God told me that she was talking about me to you. And he was quiet again. And then he was like, yo, you know what? I'm not even gonna lie to you. You not lying. So I'm like, what? What do you mean I'm not lying? He was like, you not lying because the day when you went out on a date with the guy, like, your friend told me that the guy sucked your toes or whatever. And I'm like, so now we on a FaceTime and I'm looking at him like, so I'm like, so if she told you, why wouldn't you say something to me? And I was like, oh, this is why you was calling me a liar. Yeah, so I'm like, why wouldn't you tell me that she told you that? And I'm like, oh, no wonder that you kept saying that, like, I was a liar and I was this and I was that, because she basically told you that he sucked my toes. Like, that's why you kept saying that. He was like, yeah, it is. Like, that's why I kept saying that, because she told me that. And I'm like, but who is your loyalty to? Like, why wouldn't you discuss, like, if I'm your partner and we're together, like, why wouldn't you tell me that she said that? Like, so now I'm going the fuck off. Like, I'm cursing him out. I don't want to talk to him. I don't want to deal with her. Like, I cut her off as a friend. She is no longer a friend to me because, baby, I don't know how you call yourself getting cool with my man, and you telling him information about me. But see, the thing about her, she was some little salty little girl because she had been dealing with a guy and the guy was like dogging her out. And I felt like, you know, misery love company. And because she was miserable, she wanted me to be miserable. There was little things that was happening when I was there. Like, one time he let this girl that claims that she doesn't like me take over his Snapchat because, for whatever reason, like, she was just like on his Snapchat, like, yeah, it's me, da-da-da-da-da, like, yeah, I took over his Snapchat for a day and blah, 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 blah. And I'm like, so I calls him and I see he answers and I'm like, why is this girl on your stories? It was either she was on his Snapchat or she was on his stories on Instagram, I think. It was one or the other. But like right then and there, let me tell y'all something. If y'all dealing with a guy and he know that somebody don't like you and this is your partner, like, y'all supposed to hold each other down, like, no matter what. Like, you want to say what I'm saying? Like, if somebody don't fuck with me, you don't fuck with them. And if I don't fuck with, if you don't fuck with somebody, I don't fuck with them. You know what I'm saying? Because we got each other back like that. Like, you know what I'm saying? So why would you allow this girl to take your phone and just be like, oh yeah, I took over his stories for today? Like, and it seemed like a little jab. Like, you know, like it was like a jab to me because everybody had knew at this point we had been together for years. So you knew that was my man. So you did that on purpose. And him, he played right into it because he was a disloyal person anyway. Like, Bob ain't loyal to nobody. So he's an opportunist. So he was just so thirsty to get the attention from the girl that he was just like, oh, that was my friend before I was dating you. I don't give a hell if she was your friend or not, because if that was your friend and you wanted to continue being her friend, then you should have let me know that in the beginning, because then we wouldn't have been together. Like, you understand what I'm saying? Like, it's very simple. Like, I'm not gonna deal with a guy that wants to continue a relationship out with some people that are against me. Like, you understand what I'm saying? Because it's like, again, where does your loyalty lie? And then me and him had already been together for years. Like, this wasn't no relationship where it was like, oh, we was like 2 months in, 3 months, 6 months in. We was years in. So your loyalty is to me, babes. Like, at the end of the day, like, nobody cares about her. And I find it ironic that in all the years that we worked together, when I was in New York, she ain't never chose to take over your stories then. But the minute I don't live in New York no more and I'm in LA, all of a sudden, she's taking over your stories. No, I think that was like a setup. I think that was a setup, because when I tell y'all, this video, or these videos that I am filming for y'all, are so important, because I want y'all to pay attention to like the little stories that I tell y'all, like that one that I just said, like about him having a girl take over his stories and she don't like me. Like, what man in their right mind, any man that cares about you would never allow a female to do that. Never. He not even gonna play about you. You understand what I'm saying? He not even gonna have her thinking she's above you. Like, he played right into these females' hands. Like, when it came to me, like, anything was like, oh yeah, he don't, cause deep down inside, he ain't like me either. I think that he felt like it was a good look for him to be with me. You know what I'm saying? I made him look good. So that's why he was with me. But the minute I had my back turned, he was acting like he was single. He was acting like we wasn't together. He was talking about me with his friends. Because prior to that, the same girl, Desire, that I was staying with, him and her had a little conversation. And when they got into an argument, she told him that I have some deep-rooted issues about myself that I need to handle. And now I'm saying to myself, like, well, damn, what does this girl know about me? The same girl that I was living with in LA. I was like, and you know what's crazy? I had actually brought that conversation up to her because I was like, well, it's crazy that you're telling me that he was talking about me to you, but he told me something that you said about me. And she was like, well, what did he tell you? And I was like, he told me that you said that I need to go through some healing because I have some deep rooted issues about myself. And she was like, yeah, but like, I only said that because it was the things that he was telling me about you. Like, I never came out and just said like, oh, it seems like you had some deep rooted issues. Like, I didn't do that. Like, he came to me and was talking about you to me. So then that was my response to whatever he told me. So now I'm like, oh, like, I had started to like piece little things together because I'm trying to say, like, in my mind, like, this is not normal. Like, I've never been in a relationship where my partner went and talked about me with anyone. Not that I know of. You understand what I'm saying? Not his female friends, not his homeboys, not anything. So it was just very, very, very strange, right? One day I get a call from my daughter's father, you know, saying that, like, you know, my daughter was kind of sad because I had actually left my daughter with her dad because I didn't want to like drag her away from all that she knows. Like, her dad in New York City, like, this is her home, like, this is all she knows. So I was going there to just like start my career, and then if my career took off, then I was gonna go back and get my daughter and bring her here or bring her there with me, like, you know. So but I wanted to kind of like lock things in first before I just, you know what I'm saying, ripped her away from everything that she knew. So now I was like, damn, I have to go back to New York because, you know, my baby, she needs me. You know what I'm saying? That's my daughter. She's a girl. You know, she was becoming a young lady, and I was like, Dad, I need to be there for my daughter, you know? So I'm going to go back to New York or whatever. So now I fly back to New York, right? Before I fly back to New York, while I was in LA, Bob had informed me that he had left his mom's house and he was staying with his uncle. So I was like, oh, okay. Like, I didn't really think nothing of it because, I mean, if somebody tell you like they staying with their uncle, they staying with their uncle, you know, like, I'm not gonna go behind them and be like, oh, let me double check, triple check. Like, why would I need to do that? Like, we're grown, like, you know what I'm saying? So keep in mind, I said I wanted to go our separate ways before I even went to St. Thomas, all right? Just keep that in mind. So Bob tells me that he moved to his uncle's house, and I'm like, okay. He had expressed to me that like he was going through it with the mom. Like, the mom was throwing his stuff out like into the backyard. They were getting into it, like they just wasn't getting along. So he needed to leave the mom's house. So he went to live with his uncle. Okay. So I was like, okay, like, and come to think of it, like, it was so funny because like I had felt so bad because I was like, Dad, like, it's, you know, it must really suck, like, when you have, or not even like it really sucks, but I know how it feels to have like a family member and you just need to like get on your feet and they just acting real shady, like, you know what I'm saying? So I had felt bad that I was like in LA and he was you know, in New York going through whatever he was going through with his mom. I returned back to New York, right? And child, when I tell y'all, I came back to nothing. I was so disappointed in myself, you know, and I just was like, damn, I didn't get to go to LA and set out to do what I was capable of. I know that I am a go-getter and overachiever, and I just felt like, damn, you ain't do what you was supposed to do while you was there. But my daughter was more important to me. She's a child, and I don't want her to have, you know, like childhood traumas. If I could spare her from that just a little bit, I'm gonna try my best to do that, like, you know. So I said, you know what, I think as her mom, it's my best bet is to go back to New York. So I come back to New York, and I'm staying at my mom's, and I look for a job, and I started working at like the Mac counter. I was trying not to get down on myself because I knew that like, I didn't set out to do what I was supposed to do in LA. I didn't get the chance to like fully stay there and like prepare myself within the steps to start living out my dreams and my goals. I was getting there. Like, I met a lot of people. I did create a name for myself. I was there for like a year and a half. I really did create a name for myself. I could go to LA and be like, I know people. You know what I'm saying? So I felt cool, but it was just like, dag, I didn't really get to do everything that I wanted to do. But I had the mindset of like, I'm gonna work, I'm gonna stack my money. When I go back to LA, like, I'm gonna be going into like my own apartment. Like, I don't want to stay with nobody. I don't want to need nobody for nothing. I'm gonna just go back, and I'm gonna go back with my daughter, and I'm gonna be good. Like, that's what I was thinking. Anyway, I'm back in New York, and I call Bob, and I'm like, oh babe, I'm back or whatever. So he's like, oh my God. He's acting like he's so excited, and he's like, oh my God, you back? I missed you so much, blah, blah, blah. My mom and her friend, they come pick me up from the airport, and I go back to her house or whatever, and Bob comes pick me up right when I got there that same night. He came and picked me up. So we went to a hotel, and we did what grown people do. We just wanted to be in each other's graces. But what I noticed about that situation, what was very odd, was we was in the hotel, and I don't remember if we stayed there the whole night. We was there for like a couple of hours, and then he left out because he was saying that he gotta go take care of some business. Now, you know, like when you dealing with a street dude, you know, they be out till all time of the freaking night, and they be doing whatever they be doing in them demon hours. So I didn't really think nothing of it. Like, we had already been together for years, and this is something that he would do all the time. It was just the difference was when he would do that before, we was living together. Like, my daughter was there, all his stuff was there, all my stuff. Like, we was all together like a family. But this time, because I had just came back from Cali, I didn't think nothing of it because he said he was living with his uncle, and then he can't tell me that he gotta go back to his uncle. So it made more sense for him to be like, oh, I gotta go make a run, I gotta go make a play or something like that, like to get some money. And he was like, I'm gonna come back. So I was like, oh, okay. So I didn't think nothing of it. So child, whatever, it was already like the wee hours in the morning. It probably was like around 3 or 4 in the morning. So I'm thinking like, okay, he probably gonna be back in another like 2 hours or 3 hours, and by that time it's gonna be time to go out of the hotel. So I get up in the morning, and I think before I fell asleep, actually, he called me, and he was like, damn, babe, like, it's gonna take a little longer to do XYZ, and I gotta be waiting in the car, and da-da-da-da. So again, when I'm telling y'all, this is normal. These are the normal things that he would do. Like, you understand? This is not nothing foreign. It was just that we didn't live in the same house. So it was kind of like, just like a, oh, okay, like whatever. Like, I wasn't really pressed about it. So, but now thinking back, I'm like, oh, he wasn't going to go make no play. He was living with a female, and he had to go back to her house. You understand what I'm saying? Because he couldn't spend the night out. Like, it would look crazy because you're like, how you living with this chick and you spending the night out? Like, you're supposed to go home. You understand? Like, cause that would be the same thing with me. Like, he would have to go home. So he couldn't spend the night at the hotel. And now it makes more sense to me. Like, at that moment, it didn't. It was just like, I just felt like it was like a regular thing, what he'd been doing. So I was like, oh, okay. The next morning comes. Did I call him? I don't know if I called him. I think I just left and I went back to my mom's house. He calls me like in the afternoon, and that was really it. We spoke, and it wasn't really like anything.